Jane Adventures, The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, the third story of Series 3, is written by Gareth Roberts and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony, Anjali Mahindra, Alexander Armstrong and John Leeson. So yeah, the novel is the first one to be published in a paperback on the 5th of November 2009, and this is the 9th of the 11 Sarah Jane Adventures story to be adapted as a novel. This is also the Doctor's first appearance on Sarah Jane Adventures, starring David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, and this was actually filmed after the end of time, so this story makes the final scenes David Tennant has filmed during his time as the Doctor. Originally, Nicholas Courtney was going to reappear as the Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, having him meeting the 10th Doctor, which I would have loved to see, but sadly Nicholas Courtney was too ill, which is why he got written out. When I found out, I couldn't watch the episode the same way again, and without feeling sad about it. So Sarah Jane just walks out of the house, as apparently she's been doing it many times. So Luke, Ronnie and Clyde asks Mr. Smith to locate Sarah Jane's whereabouts. So they went there to see if there's any trouble, but turns out she's on a date with a bloke called Peter Dalton. So yeah, nothing to worry about. Well, you would think. I think Nigel Havers is great as Peter Dalton. We also get to hear the TARDIS noise. I was mind blown when I first watched it. I never thought the Doctor was going to be in it, and it's just TARDIS passing through. So Luke, Ronnie and Clyde went back to the attic and Sarah Jane returned, discovering that she's been spied on. But she seems happy and was planning to tell them about Peter inviting him 3 days later to meet Luke. I thought K9 annoying Mr. Smith is pretty entertaining. So while Peter arrived to meet Sarah Jane and Luke, Ronnie and Clyde have got the parcel, and inside was Travis Prolong, the same creature that Sarah Jane chased in the hospital from the episode The Mark of the Berserker. While we get the funny chase scene, Luke, Sarah Jane and Peter went out for a meal. Sarah Jane took the call and advised Ronnie to get Mr. Smith to deal with that, so he teleported Travis Prolong back to its planet, Pelongus, along with the dustbin. Apparently it was being sold on eBay. Clyde looks at the computer and sees Peter's house with the for sale signs and papers on the window, like it's been abandoned, and the photo was taken recently, so they went to have a look and seeing that something isn't right. So after Sarah Jane and Peter got engaged, Sarah Jane and Luke returned home, and apparently there was nothing wrong because Peter had a flat that Sarah Jane went in a few times. And yeah, she was given a ring with a red flashing light. Mr. Smith tried to warn them, but Sarah Jane deactivated him. It's also scary after when the lights turned off in the attic and there's a sound of laugh. So at the wedding, which is definitely quick, Clyde was thinking that something isn't right, and Geeta seems to like Peter a bit too much, and Harash seems to be pretty annoyed with her. So Sarah Jane and Ronnie arrived looking amazing, and my heart was beating faster when I first watched this, hearing the sound of the TARDIS making a noise. Clyde obviously hid K9 under the table. Just after the Registrar asks if anyone has got any objections, we get the 10th Doctor bursting in and shouted, "Stop this wedding now!"
Stop this wedding now!
I love that scene. When I first watched it, I actually thought I had a head injury, as I was really surprised to see the Doctor in Sarah Jane Adventures. While everyone was wondering why the Doctor wanted the wedding to stop, the wind was blowing and Peter said there's an angel and the trickster appeared. Not a good looking angel, I have to admit. He seems to dress for the occasion. Well, he's wearing white this time. So anyway, he teleports himself with Sarah Jane and Peter away. Everyone has disappeared except the Doctor, Ronnie, Clyde, Luke and K9. The Doctor needed the teenagers and K9 to help him rescue Sarah Jane Smith in getting out. Unfortunately, the TARDIS disappeared away and can't come back because they're in a couple of seconds of time loop, and Sarah Jane along with Peter is in a different time. We learned that Peter fell down the stairs and was about to die, but Trickster kinda resurrected him and got him to meet Sarah Jane. And the reason why he wanted them to get married so Sarah Jane can forget the time she saves the world from aliens. With the ring, she gets really happy and she'll stop saving the world. As the TARDIS reappeared, the Doctor tries to get teenagers to go back in, but Clyde gets electrocuted, which we'll explore more in Death of the Doctor. He tricks the Trickster, wanting to join his species to get to Sarah Jane with the power of art and energy. As he fell unconscious, Sarah Jane gets Peter to let her go in order to save her son and her friends. So Peter takes his ring off, and so Trickster disappears away. Sarah Jane and Peter told each other that they love each other just before Peter disappears, and everyone is back in their places except Peter, who's gone just like that. So Sarah Jane sadly had to cancel the wedding. So in the end, the gang are back in the attic and the doctor arrived. When they asked if they could look inside, and the doctor is like, "What, the TARDIS?" My TARDIS was pretty intense. I was like, whoa! But then he's like, yeah, of course you can, why not? Sadly, they're not allowed to go anywhere because, well, Tybo grounded them on Earth. So after they left the TARDIS, Sarah Jane and the Doctor get to say goodbye and telling each other not to forget each other, which is the same exchange from the Hand of Fear, where Sarah Jane leaves the TARDIS for the last time until the 5 Doctors. As the Sarah Jane went out the TARDIS, the Doctor seemed depressed. You can tell David Tennant is really sad that he's leaving the show and saying goodbye to Elizabeth Sladen as he watched her when he was a child. But yeah, they will see each other again, thankfully. So, that's the wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, one of my favourite Sarah Jane Adventures episodes. It's amazing that the Doctor appears in the show. What did you guys think of the wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, part 1 and 2? Drop your thoughts on the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.